Welcome back to the scoop here on the VET S.O.S podcast for the Who You Know Network. And today on the stoop, we're going to be sitting down getting the scoop. Ladies and gentlemen, strap in from across the globe. Clear your schedule because today is going to be some action-packed information. It's not just going to be another podcast. It's not just going to be another conversation. It's going to be a collision of pain, purpose, and power. Our guest today, one of my mentors, Todd Simmons. He's a veteran. He's a trailblazer. He is the reason why I'm sitting here talking to y'all right now. His book, Why Not Me? Born to Fail, Destined to Succeed. That's what we could describe it. So whether you're healing from invisible wounds, leading through the storm, or just trying to remember your worth, this is going to be your episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Simmons. What's going on, brother? How we doing today?
Good, man. I was sitting there listening to you. I'm like, oh, man, I know the energy was going to be like 10,000.
Look, I could not wait. I'm over here pacing back and forth. I'm like, okay, I got 60 minutes. I got 30 minutes. I got 20 minutes because I wanted to touch base with you about this book. And I just want to say thank you for putting it together. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I want to say for the others that can't say it or probably said it and you heard it time and time again, man, I wish I had this book earlier, man. This book changed my life, man. I can't believe that you went through this too, and now I'm going through something similar, so I know I'm not walking by myself. Yeah. So thank you on their behalf.
No, I appreciate it.
And at the VET S.O.S, so it's veterans share stories, and the motto is you don't have to drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline, and we're here to help. And as being one of the podcast hosts of one of the channels, this book, and we're going to talk about it. So before we even get into the details of the book, I know the scoop on you, but what's the scoop on Todd so that others can know, we're about to get in?
No, man, I don't know. If you read the book, I don't like talking about myself. So it means no scoop, man. Just, I know you for a long time. You always start off with Brooklyn kid, New York. Hey, I'm the opposite, man. I'm a small town kid, Hardyville, South Carolina, born and raised right outside Savannah, Georgia, 6,500 people. So, man, just a small town kid, man. Grew up, just as a lot of people, man, unsure about what I wanted life to be, unsure about what the normalcy of life looked at in my situation. And, was handed an opportunity, man, that, to be honest with you, I didn't fumble, that I fumbled and then picked the ball up and tried to run it in, So for me, man, just served 25 years in the Air Force, retired 6 years ago. Seems crazy that I retired 6 years ago, but retired 6 years ago, moved up here to DC, started a business that was not successful for the first year, and just found, that age-old simple formula, man. Surround yourself with good people, be a good person, try to be trusted, and try to get what attracts to you from there. So found a great mentor, started Courageous Leadership Alliance up here, workforce development company, had another opportunity about a year and a half ago to partner with another great partner to start Courageous Corp Federal, which is a GovCon company, and just learn, man. I get up every day thankful, first and foremost, that I'm even up. There's not a day that I don't get up that I don't breathe deep and go, man, and I think that's what energizes me. That's why every time I see you with your energy, man, I can relate to it. It's not maybe as outward with me, but that energy I see with you is the energy I have every day, man. It's like, let's go all day. So that's just me, man. Just a kid who got an opportunity and just trying to be good for the world is every day that I'm here, trying to be good for my family, trying to be good for the people that are close to me, and just trying to be good for myself. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't give that love to nobody else. So that's it, man. That's me in a nutshell.
See, what y'all don't realize, Todd is being very modest and low key. Like he moves around quietly. But I'm gonna toot his horn for him because I know he's that humble person that he's like, hey man, I'm just Todd. So he has a bestseller. His book was featured in my city, New York City, in Times Square on the big street. Okay, showing everybody why not me? But when you look at the book, you know, if you pass this book at Barnes and Nobles or you pass it in Amazon and you see the front cover, some people think of it as negative. But you put in your book, don't think of it as a negative. Think of it as a positive.
Yeah.
Why not me? So I'm gonna start off the conversation is why did you label your book and before because I chapter one is fire, okay? But
Mhm.
why did you start off with why not me? Born to fail, destined to succeed. What made you choose that title for this book right here?
Man, I don't know, man. I tell you, this is pre AI, you know. So I couldn't put it in Chat GPT and come up with 10 choices. So I'm very proud of that because this was no AI. You know, today I'll just throw something in AI and be like, give me 10 book titles based on this, you know, and it would have came up. And man, I was really sitting around. I started writing this book about 2 years before I retired, write a couple of words and throw it away. And, you know, I wanted to kind of, you know, relieve the stress of holding things in or, I just wanted to relieve it. I wanted to get, and to be honest with you, the book was supposed to be twice as long. I cut a lot of stuff out because I was like, hey, I'm just retired. Let me, do I want to put my whole story out or do I want to put the pieces that don't make me seem like it's about me or it was a struggle for a year what to put out. So why not me came, it's a motto that I actually had on and off, for a long time. And this was, at one point I was going to counseling and doing some things. And I had this, and I don't want to label it because I'm not a psychologist or something, but I had essentially guilt and shame for being poor, learning disability. So I always put myself in this box of I couldn't achieve anything. I used to have a why me mentality. Like I remember, growing up, if we didn't have something and I saw other people doing better than us, like why can't we? Why we have the raggedy car? Why do we have this? Why us? It was like a sorrow in a sympathetic, self-sympathetic mode that I always was in. And I never saw myself out of that. So, I remember after being an airman and going through a suicide attempt, and then, a couple of years passed by. I remember this pivotal moment when I was a brand new staff sergeant in the Air Force. And I was brand new to the base, in Japan. I mean, I was there 2 months, and everyone told me at that point, I saw an advertisement that said Security Forces Investigations. And I was a staff sergeant, and I knew my previous base, that's something I dreamed about doing, couldn't do it. So now I'm at this new base and I saw it and I was like, went to my flight chief and I said, hey, I want to put in for this job. And he was like, oh, why would they hire you? You just got here. No one knows you. And I'm like, why the hell not me? And it was like a mentality before it was a word. It was like, why not? Why am I not good enough? Because in the past, someone would say that's not for you. They wouldn't even have had to say it. I would be like, oh nah, that's too hard. That's for people who are smart. That's for people who are sharper than me. But that day, man, it was really a year before that. But my mentality changed toward just like in the military security forces, I know we both were, active shooter mentality is you run toward gunfire till you stop the gunfire. That's the way I always kind of like the why not me mentality is run toward the hardest thing that you can run to in life until you achieve it. It doesn't matter how hard it is. That's what you don't go to the easy things. Like it's easy to go to the gym and it's easy to go. It's not easy to go to the gym sometime, but when you get in the gym,
Right.
it's easy to pick up the one. I know I struggled on this week. It's easy to pick up the 1 pound weight, right? And just look around and go, I'm doing something, and then leave in 10 minutes later. It's hard to pick up the 45s and actually do 4 sets and actually be registered.
Yes.
It's a little bit harder. So I'm going to go toward what's hard first. So why not me? The first part of that is the mantra. The second part of that, born to fail, is because I was born to my mom is a great person, but I was born, I didn't really know my father. I knew him, but he was in and out of life because he had other things going on. I had an undiagnosed learning disability. I was not treated very well. I had mental and physical abuse from, family members, people around me. Teachers called me dumb and stupid. So my mentality failing the fourth grade, the ninth grade, and dropping out of high school was I was not put on this earth to be successful. I was born to be a throwaway.
Wow.
And I had that mindset for most of my adolescent and teenage life. My life don't mean nothing. I literally 16 years old, like my life don't mean nothing. Whatever is whatever. So born to fail was that, yeah, I might have been born in an environment that expected me to fail, but something in my destiny in the universe said that's not for you. And something took me out of those environments and put me in opportunities where I was destined to succeed. Because nothing about my story in the beginning for 18 years said you had a chance. Nothing. Nothing. And it's nothing that, I mean, people got common stories, but I mean, it's so cool because I met my recruiter a few years ago and I saw him just last week at a friend's retirement. Again, he was there. He's an SES in the Space Force now. And just that connected tissue of this guy recruited a kid who couldn't pass the ASVAB test in a year in the Air Force that did not even need people to be recruited. So I think I was destined to come into the Air Force. I think I was destined to be successful at that. And I think what was in me needed some way to come out. So that's what Why Not Me is. And that's what the Destined to Succeed is.
Wow. And at the beginning, so I always look at like the first chapter of the book, right? Like, well, that's how you know if it's gonna pull you in, are you gonna be attracted to it, or are you gonna keep reading and keep reading? You start off, so every chapter, just let everybody know when you go get this book, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. And I'm talking to the audience that's listening in. Every chapter starts off with a quote. That's the way how I read it. And
Okay.
the first quote started off is, "Don't let your struggle become your identity." So when I read that, I just started to think, I like, wow, don't let your struggle become your identity. Labels are society change. Break yours. That's what I wrote down to remind myself. So I see the structure of your book. So every chapter you have a quote that brings you into that chapter. Why did you start off with that one? Don't let your struggle become your identity.
Because I think that's the essence of everything. Man, opportunity of a lifetime to be in the military and to raise to a rank where I got to meet other people and be of an influence. And I'll just be honest with you, keeping it real. I mean, I remember being, a senior NCO, master sergeant, whatever, and seeing young black men or men in general and women, but just to see a young black man come into my office particularly and say that they couldn't do something. I'm a big school junkie, even though
Oh, yes,
so
I know.
when because it changed my life and it was hard. It was something that I had to get through very difficult times.
Right.
And I would tell a young man to be like, "Hey man, you should sign up and go to school. It's free for you. This is an opportunity. It's gonna, yeah." And and to be honest with you, 95% of the time, the response will be, "That's not for me." And as I
Guilty.
would break it down, it always seemed because it was from a struggle. It wasn't because they were lazy. It was because a mindset said, my struggle, even though a kid told me one time, "Hey, I barely ate before I came to military. I'm just so happy to be here." And like, I don't want to go to school. I'm just happy to get this check. And what I told him is, I appreciate that. But what I'm gonna tell you, what you need to start doing now that you got the food in the house and the shelter and the first and 15, you need to make sure you secure that you can get that for the rest of your life. Because what you're doing now is you're putting other people in control of your life by not making yourself a valued member of the team that's irreplaceable or marketable, or you can go get 20 jobs. And that's the whole point about upskilling yourself. That's why I opened an
Right.
upskilling company. So the whole don't let your struggle, limit, because we all were told certain things about ourselves that we believed at some point in our life. And the beauty is some of us stop believing it earlier than others. What I
Right.
try to do today is try to make people stop believing it as early as possible. I know
Mm.
50, 60-year-old men that still believe in what they were told when they were 15. And
Yeah.
it has hindered their life. It has hindered their happiness. It has hindered their resilience. It has hindered them being, the person they can. So for me, I feel my biggest blessing in life that came that I stopped believing that in my early 20s. And that's why I started to.
Wow. And what else I wrote down is I just started thinking because we have history together, you and I, right? We was both stationed at the same duty location overseas, and I remember something that you told me when I was going through my. You didn't know what I was going through, but you knew I was going through something.
Yeah,
As a defender, that's what we do, right? We keep the face on. Hey, you good? Because that's one thing that we. If I say something, you know what happens? I get my weapon taken away. I get to put off to the side. Everybody starts to talk about me, but you told me this, and I'll never forget. You said, we all have battles. Is what you do with them that will define you.
yeah,
I didn't forget that. Okay. So, and this, when I read chapter 1 of the book, it came back to my memory. Like, we all have battles. Is what you do with them that defines you.
yeah, yeah, man. I tell you, man, I'm battling right now. And most people that don't tell, that don't tell you that is disingenuous. We all go through battles. The
Yeah.
battles are different. It's just everybody's battle is different. And it's what you do with it that defines you is so right. You can take that and you can turn, like Brene Brown is one of my favorite authors.
Mhm.
She talks about, shame, you know, and, and I read that book in 2019, right before Dare to Lead, right before I retired. Another great book for your listeners. And she talked about this owning your shame and all of these different things. And it's
Mm.
so for me, you know, for me, I own everything about myself. I don't have anything that I feel shameful of. I feel the battles that someone asked me the other day, man, would you do
Mm.
anything different? People ask me all the time, would you do anything different in your military career? I'm
I
like,
say no.
no,
Yeah.
what happened. And it
Yeah.
made me tougher. I just went through something this morning, to be honest with you, man. Like coming on to this podcast, man, I'm happy to be here. Like this is, I believe the universe puts us where we're supposed to be. Um,
100%.
you, it's- this morning I went to a very intense exchange with someone who, tested me as in trying to belittle me, to be honest with you, who really was
Right.
talking really down to me, who don't even know me that well, don't know
Right.
anything about me, but he's an older gentleman and he doesn't know anything about me. And it's one of the first times in 6 years that everything I've worked for in my mental health and resilience came unraveled.
Mm.
The feeling that I felt and the funk that I was in since 8 o'clock this morning, like walking around, still feel it now. It's a feeling that I remember from a decade ago. It's a feeling that
Yeah.
I used to be in, and what took me sometime 3, 4 days to get out of. And I've not felt that feeling in years and years. So again,
Right.
it's again, what are you going to do with it, right? So I'm battling right now, and I've been walking around the house, and thankfully my wife is traveling, and she doesn't get back till tonight. I'm going to pick her up tonight, and I'm like, what do I do with this? So what I've done with it is put positive energy into the last 4 or 5 hours. I'm feeling better now. And I've been anticipating talking to you too. So what do you do with that? I used to be paralyzed by it. I used to sit on the
Yeah.
couch, overthink, and just go into
Right.
some bad places with it, man, and it'll be days, but man, I'm leaving this house in a couple leaving this house, man, look, 'cause I have a regiment, like you said, what do you do with it? I have a regiment that I go through. Which
Mm.
is very rare that I feel like the way that it took me today, man, I love my daughter. We cool as a fan.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to get back with my
That's dope.
youngest daughter and be my mom is 82 and she's
Man, that's what's up.
bounced back from a very severe head injury. And now she's back joking on the phone again and doing what so
Yeah.
I walk around talking to myself like doing that. And I'm like, man, you can't,
Yes.
this is the bounce back. And I feel it because man, you have to have some kind of way to get out of any battle, man, because it can really test you. And so yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Now that's so I don't know how many times you go back and revisit your own writings because you have a couple of like reflection questions we're gonna get to,
never.
but no, and see, and that's what I'm saying because what you're talking about is crazy that when I went through and I was going through the book and just like using it to reflect through my life journey, right? And then when I got to chapter 2, It's like Legos. I told people, I said, man, once you stack something like a Lego, but you don't know what it is until you build it out, and then you can stand back and look at it like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's the picture was painting. Because you said in chapter 2, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. We can't avoid storms, but we can learn to dance in the rain. That's what I took away from chapter 2.
Yeah. Pain is, I was in pain this morning, but
Yeah.
I choose not to suffer, bro. I choose not to suffer.
Wow.
We are going to take, pain is going to come. Pain is going,
Mhm.
life is going to life. I tell people life,
Life is gonna life. Yeah, life be lifing.
just to be honest with you, I
Yeah.
live in an active community here, like, very active. I live in an active community in the city. So my house is right on the street, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting in here one day having a great time, and I parked my nice SUV in a legal parking spot right in my front house, and I'm sitting there just having a good time, and somebody slammed right into my car because they was on their cell phone, right into the side of my car,
Wow.
and it's only 6 months old.
Whew.
That was painful, but you know what? By the time I went down there, I was like, "This is a car, bro.
Yeah.
It's a car." Because the guy came out. When I came out, he probably thought I wanted to fight him. I mean, he was like, and I probably looked like that, and I was like, bro, and he was kind of like, and I was like, hey man, just please tell me you got some insurance.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing, because some states, you could drive in the bare minimum and you be seeing bumpers hanging off, no fenders and stuff. You're
Yeah.
like, oh man, it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah. So no, and just it's pain as it out. You're right, man. But it's if you choose to suffer, it's just like it's a great example I was talking about. I don't choose to sit in that stuff, man. I
Right.
try, and sometimes your body, going through. I mean, I've been in a mental health journey for 25 plus years. Sometimes you gotta fight, like you gotta fight Mike Tyson to get out of it. Like
Yes.
even though I can tell you right now, I'm happy and I'm trying to get out of that situation. I still feel it physically in my body.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel it. So you just got to be super conscious and address the pain. You can't ignore it.
Mm.
And and if I wasn't talking to you today, as soon as I picked my wife up from the airport, I was going to drink. I'd be like,
Right.
let me let me tell you what happened to me today. I
Yeah.
came to you, and that's why you got to have these trusted people, right?
Right.
You got to have these people that you can call and pick up the phone and just be like, look, I need you to talk to me about this because I need to say something. Am I overthinking this or am I? And I had that because there was another
Mm.
guy on the phone call. He called me immediately and he said that was totally out of line. The way you handled it was, and he's a trusted person. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not tripping. So
Yeah. So I know, usually I tap and I reach out to you, but sometimes you don't realize, like you said, you don't realize how you're helping people by just sharing the little nuggets and moving on. So what daily practices do you use to like for that response, like to like, man, I need to deal with this? Because at the end of the day, you still Todd Simmons. At the end of the day, you're the CEO and founder of Creative Leadership Life. At the end of the day, you're still out there moving and shaking, but you have to have that. What tools do you have to kind of get through that you could share with the
man,
listeners?
it's a journey, man. The tools
Mhm.
I have is self gratitude, man. And I'm
Got
telling
you.
you, man, I never knew. I had a friend the other day tell me, man, he's a veteran, and he telling me, man, he's went through his mental health journey post military. He said, I
Mm.
never loved myself. He said, I've never loved myself. And
Wow.
man, it was one of the piercing things, man, because I can relate to that. I never, I was talking to a group of people about this. I was going through before we had digital pictures. We all took pictures. We got developed.
Right.
And I have pictures from staff sergeant to chief of my promotion ceremony, like, getting my and my kids
Yeah.
just grew up right next to me and getting all these. And I look, I mean, I put them all, man, I just kept pulling the pictures out and now I kept looking for them.
Right.
This a couple of years ago, my face, bro, was never smiling, never
Yeah.
smiling, never happy. And I just realized, man, it took me back to so many emotions that I never gave myself any kind of love or grace or gratitude. If I achieved something, it was like I would question myself, like, all right, you got it, but you got to keep doing something else to prove to these people that you good. All
Right.
right, like cool, but they still watching you. They still watching you.
Yes.
So yeah, I got it. You got to go. Okay, you won the quarterly, but man, these people
Gotta
don't
get
think
the annual.
you
Yeah.
got to get the
Quarterly
end.
is not enough. You gotta go to annual. Yeah, that's not enough. You gotta go match. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't about getting promoted or careerism. It was about internal to me that I didn't
Right.
love myself to be okay with who I was. I didn't love
Wow.
myself enough just to go, hey man, I'm gonna do a good job and I'm gonna do all the good things. But if it happens, it happens. You know, I'm gonna work hard for it. But I was relentlessly like, that's what my mind was focused on, which took away from my family, which took away from my mental health, and it took away from the way I saw myself. I saw myself as that
Mm.
little kid being called stupid every day. I saw myself
Yes.
as a high school dropout, even though I was teaching college. You know, I
Yes.
always thought that somebody was over my shoulder looking at me to judge me. So the
Wow.
tip that I give myself every day is self-gratitude. Like, bro, like I
Mm.
like, hey man, you doing, that's what we say. I have never
Yeah.
read any of my own books. I don't really look at my own stuff. I don't self-gratify myself that way. I'm not like, oh man, I'm look at
Right.
me, look at all the likes. None of that. I'm talking about as plain and simple as, and I described this to somebody the other day. I said, how many of you love yourself enough to know how many bumps, pimples, wrinkles, frowns that you have on your face? I said, how many of you love yourself that much? I said, because when I'm brushing my teeth or when I'm in the mirror, I literally physically stop and I look at myself in the mirror. I don't say anything. That's the love, because
Wow.
staring at yourself is the deepest thing you can do. Not a picture of yourself, the live version of yourself for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Wow.
Boy, and I do it every day, sometimes multiple times a day. If I'm just happy to be here doing something, washing my hands, sometimes I just do this, man. Sometimes
Wow.
I'll tell myself something. Sometimes I'll tell myself things like, "Man, this gonna be hard, bro. Like
Wow.
this gonna be hard, but you got it." I went through some health challenges recently, and it was stressing me out for 4 months. And every morning I got up, I was like, "Just keep calm. Just do what you got to
Right.
do. Nothing you can control." And you got to love yourself, man, and you got to be in love with yourself before you can ever love anything else on earth.
Mm.
So that's what I tell people. The simplest form of happiness is being happy with yourself first.
Being
Not
happy with
things,
yourself first.
not
Got you.
things, not things that people going to give you, not accolades. Those are great achievements, but man,
Right.
if I gave you a 360 in my office, and it's another thing I tell, this is a veteran tip. If any veterans out there are retiring or separating the Air Force or have separated and retired and you got a home office, I would tell you to do this. Like, I served 25 years in the military. I have a ton of stuff, a whole warehouse full of stuff, right?
I'm about to say you probably don't have really nothing up on the walls.
I got one thing from the military. Because what I did when I first moved is this was a conscious thing I did. I put all that stuff up and I took it all down because I was
Mm.
sitting in my office and it was just like, this isn't the end of me. This isn't the end of me. So I had no room on my walls for nothing else. So what I did is I took everything down. I have one flag up here with some stripes on it that a tech
Mm.
sergeant gave me when I was out it's a personal gift.
Right.
Like, and that tech sergeant was going through a lot of things on base, and we did what any leaders would want to do for him. And then he was a great woodworker. And when I was PCS, he came to my office, no fanfare, not at my going away, and gave me the thing he personally made. So that's the only thing on my wall. It reminds me of the small things you do for people are giant things in someone else's life, and you'll never know about it, and that's okay. But in
Wow.
this case, it reminds me that I did know about it. So I got to remember that you do something small you do the things that you're supposed to for people, and you just let it shake out from there. So,
Wow.
yeah, Kings, I put that up.
Wow, man. That's
And what I did is everything I have achieved for the last 6 years in this new chapter. eh, So I have spots on my wall for things I haven't done yet. So if
oh
you're a
man.
veteran, I will tell you, be proud of what you've done before, but leave room for what you
Leave
do.
room. Wow. That's, man. Eh, So you sure you haven't like read through your book again? Because like we're talking, I'm like, man, and check this out, y'all. So he's a straight shooter, right? Like Todd is a straight, like I know him when I was I was one of those individuals that he shared that hey, I'm like, man, well, I need to go to school. He said, well, if you want to be at that rank for the rest of your time in service, then yeah, don't go to school. But this is why, right? You know, and he said, yeah, I was drop out because I told him, hey, I used to study. He said, okay, but you're an investigator now, right? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I was an investigator too. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the encouragement
Mm.
along the way. And in chapter 3, you put, I don't believe in the no-win scenario. So that's why I took away from that. When I was like, man, like that's why I was thinking. I was like, man, this book is kind of talking to me. And it's crazy. You said that you wrote this how many years ago?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. And that's how you know it's life.
Mm.
So this book is life because in 6 years, I'm sure your mind or your capacity was in a different space than where it's at now.
I was still in the I was literally just retiring from the military.
And you know my journey, right? I was yeah, I was in a way different space
Mm.
now than I am here in 2025. And you put this in your book and you don't believe in a no-win scenario. You know, no situation is hopeless when resolve is alive. That's what I took away from that.
Yeah, there's no such thing. I believe, and I think that's the way I approach it. You know, one of my friends the other day, he was at his retirement ceremony, and literally, I hate to say this on a podcast, I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone. I
And
was
it's
on my
life.
phone
Life is life.
trying to check the email. I was in the audience, and then he had me in his script, which I had no idea he was going to say. And what he said about me was like, he doesn't understand how I have 84 hours in a day. That's what he said, right? And I was like, so later I did a LinkedIn post a couple of days later, like, I have the same 24 hours as everyone else.
Right.
But I believe everything is so purpose driven in my life at this point that
Uh-huh.
I just attack things with a relentless, like, it's going to happen. Like, I don't have, there's a win in everything. And I think I've approached everything like that probably for the better part of the last 20 years. I'll wake up and I will put myself in a very difficult position just to prove that it can be done. I
Right.
remember at Lincoln Heath, when we were there and the Frankfurt terrorist attack happened, and great human
Yes.
beings came together and said, we're going to memorialize these people in 1 year. And I remember someone coming into my office because we wanted to erect a stone granite. And I had a group of people in my office. I said, in 1 year, we will have that done. And they said, we got to raise $30,000. And I'm like, okay. And they
Yeah.
were like, there's no way, like 6 months in, it was like, no way we can get it done. I'm like, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one,
I'm not taking no for an answer. Like,
I don't believe that there's a L in anything, there's a
right.
lesson in everything. I tell people, well, people look at L, they look at losses. I look at lessons because everything is a lesson, not a loss. Nothing is a loss. It's just a lesson. If I lose $1 million tomorrow, it's not a loss. It's a lesson because it's a
Right.
lesson on how I don't do that again.
Right.
So, those kind of things. So a year, we had the family come back and we had a stone structure and we had a memorial.
Yes.
So anything that I try to approach is I try to make people see over the horizon because if we are limiting ourselves, I mean, the greatest innovation
Uh,
happened in this world because of people's imagination. And if you can use imagination, it doesn't have to be to create the next big AI tool, or it doesn't have to be to
right.
create aircraft or nothing. Imagination is for all of us. Babies are the most imaginative people
Yes.
on earth because they haven't been corrupted to have disbelief. Why do you think we tell babies to not do this, or kids who are 2 years old, they'll just run full bore,
Right.
you know,
No care in the world. Yeah.
they don't care because they see the world through a different lens than us.
Right.
We see the world too, sometimes it's too dangerous, not enough resources, not enough this, not enough. So we put 17 barriers in our way, you know, I worked for a university. I had someone tell me, man, I would love to go back to school. Oh, I can help you with that. I would have the authority to give you a scholarship, put in for the scholarship. They were
Right.
like, well, the timing ain't right. And I'm like, no, you got 2 years to use it. You don't have to even use it right now.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna see about it. You know, no, I'm the type of person, if you
Yes.
came to me and you say, "Hey, I got a scholarship for you, let's go."
Yeah.
Sign me up, start classes on Friday. I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna get the win.
Yes. So you share life begins at the end of your comfort zone. That's a quote you use to roll into chapter 4. Life
Yeah,
begins at the end of your comfort zone.
yeah,
That's what you shared with me. Cause I'll never forget it. I was a brand new investigator. You was like, and I went to your office, right? Cause that's where you went from, you was on flight and then you went over into operations.
yeah.
And then I was, I had to let you know what's all going on over in that world. And you asked me that question, and I try to push it off so much, but you went back to that question, like, how you gonna be an investigator if you have to write reports, right? You have to translate that information so the commander can make the proper decisions, right? You're gonna have to go stand and testify in court, right? So time for you to get out your comfort zone. And you said it's the cage. Growth lives outside of it.
Yeah.
You said, get out your cage, Kings. Get out your cage.
Right. Yeah.
So with some of the listeners, like, how can they get out their cage of when you put that in, because there's a specific reason you put that in chapter 4.
Yeah,
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
I say write down what you fear and go do it.
Yes.
And I explain, I'm a high school dropout. I had learned disability. To this day, I
Hmm.
my math is very general. Don't ask me to do no trigonometry, no geometry. Don't ask me to do anything with geometry in it. Nothing. you, you know, I tell people all the time, I want 1 + 1 = 2, and that's in my way.
Right.
But I failed college algebra 4 times.
Mm.
Right? I knew the first time that I was going to pursue a college education, I knew what my barrier was going to be. I knew it. I knew I would go take an English class and I'll be fine. I had that ability to. I knew that certain things was science and math were
Hmm.
going to be things that tripped me up, but I didn't allow it to derail me. So what
Right.
do? You go to the things that you fear most,
Mm.
and you go do it. Like when they asked me to be the chairman of the board for this huge organization, nonprofit, I've never been in senior living in my life.
Right.
And it's uncomfortable and it was scary. And it's still scary sometimes. You making $30 million decisions and
Right.
signature is on there. And you got to make sure that you're getting it right. But I love that fear of unknown because that's where learning, because this is where you have to be careful of. And I tell people this all the time. Sometimes people will overextend their stay in their comfort zone. Those are the people, if they're
Mm.
experts at 1/4 of the pie, they're going to be the expert at that 1/4 of the pie. They're going to tell you everything, gonna tell you everything. They're going to be volunteering all the information. They're going to just be that. But they're never going to grow to those other slices because they're just going to stay there. You ever met someone who just want to be an expert at the one thing they know?
Yes, it's me on that one thing, but you
Man,
ask
the
them
one
outside
thing.
of that.
You ask them something, you ask them to go over there and do that. Oh no, I don't do that. Like my thirst, this is what I always tell defenders. My love for security forces was the fact that unlike many AFSCs, if you're an aircraft mechanic on the F-15, that's what you're going to be working on till you move, for the most in security forces, you can be doing so many different jobs. I
Oh
love
yes,
that I can show up one day, be working the gate. I can show up the next day, be working the patrol. I can show up the next day, be
yes,
working nuclear weapons. I can show up the next day, be a controller. Like in a whole
yes,
month, I could be doing that. I think
yes.
that instilled the complexity of growth in me. That you have to be versatile, and I loved it. So when security forces made me do that, I actually embraced it. It fit me. So, and I don't think I would be successful in the civilian world if it wasn't for that type of just fear. Like, oh my goodness, I remember the first time I was an
Mm.
A1C, I was a BDOT controller, a desk
As an
sergeant.
A1C, yeah,
A1C.
that's big time for the people who don't realize that. That's
So I,
that's
the
that's
first
huge.
the first time they had me on there and had me on there by myself, I was like completely terrified. like on that desk by my QC passed, but now I'm on here and I'm dispatching flight chiefs and patrolmen and alarms going off. And I,
Right.
it only took about 2 or 3 weeks, man, to be honest with you, for me to absolutely love it. I love the
Mm.
pressure. I love the alarms going off. I love the shoplifting, the bomb threat. I was like, this was a pressure cooker, like, and you had to be better and better every day to be able to do it. And not everyone can do it. So yeah, that's a long answer, man. But I tell
Mm.
you, you have to I I don't like to do anything I'm comfortable with. I'm bored every day. And
Right.
that was in the military and that's now. Like if it's no growth going to happen in it, like people ask me like, hey, why do you open up another company when you're trying to build the first company? I'm like, because it's challenging.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity and it's more to learn. And I want to learn.
Wow. And that's where you said in chapter 5, don't let others decide who you are. That goes perfect. So y'all see, everybody, y'all understand what I'm talking about. So we're going through the chapters of Todd's book, and he's doing his own leading, right? He's doing his own leading. So that just to let you know the powerful information that's between these pages right here.
And I haven't read that book ever.
Ever. I like, but when you see when somebody walks in their truth, and then I remember this one thing you told me too. He's like, hey, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, right? Because it always it always rolls off, right? So these are things that's coming back to my memory, because I had some my brain was rewired a couple of times. So by reading this book, it's bringing some of the stuff back to the frontal lobe. And
I haven't read that one in a long. I haven't said that one a long. I must write that one down. That was one of my favorites. I haven't said that in probably 10 years.
and you say you are not the sum of others' opinion. And this why I'm so grateful that you, when I reached out to you, and I mean literally, like, when I reached out to you, send me a text ASAP back, like, sure, when do I
Mhm.
gotta be there? Like, because you said don't let the sum of others,
No.
their opinions, like, who cares? Okay, yeah, yeah, you was this, you was that, mental health, this, that. Okay, yeah, so what? Tell your story. So what? Don't let others decide who you are.
Let me tell you a fun fact, man. That's not a.
Sure,
This should not be a shocker.
sure. Let it rip.
Everybody, everybody should be able to say this and be okay with this statement. There are people in the world that do not like me,
That's facts.
and
You have to be okay with it. That mean that you your truth, right? Because if everybody likes you, that mean that you're not the person, right? Because if you keep
now,
changing
now,
to
yeah,
align with what people, yeah,
I say that with some qualifiers.
right,
I know and don't know who some of those people are, and it doesn't make a difference if I know or don't know. What I need to
mm,
know if I have done something to cause that. That's the only thing you need to know.
got you.
Now, I will be honest with you, few and far between will that be the truth. But
Mm,
for the one or two things that is the truth, it's incumbent upon you to go try to straighten that relationship out. But 96% of the time, it has nothing to do with you.
right.
And you
Wow.
still have to give those people grace because at the end of the day, you don't know what someone else is going through. And people give me flack for this. My own
Mm,
wife give me flack because we're built different. Like, easily, I can know that you can come to me right now and say, this person was talking so bad about you. This, and I'm like, oh, I don't really know that person.
right.
That's all I would
Yeah,
say.
right.
But if I saw that person tomorrow, Kingsley, we were at a conference and I'm in the vicinity of that person, this kind of shocks people. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go speak. I would never bring up anything you told me. But I'm
Right.
going to
Just have a
speak.
regular conversation. Yeah.
And if we're at the bar standing next to each other, I'm going to I might even buy you a drink because I
Mm,
believe that my actions are the only actions that are judge worthy.
right.
So I can control my actions. I'm not going to argue, fuss, or fight with anyone over something that I don't understand. Now, I'm going to argue, fuss, or fight if you come at my family. I'm going to argue,
Right.
fuss, or fight if you do something to try to harm me personally. But I'm not going to argue, fuss, or fight over opinions that I'm not involved in.
Right.
So it's part of loving yourself, and you have to be okay with smiling when you say
Mm.
that there are people who don't like me. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's huge. So, you shared with everybody at the beginning, you did, people say 20. I like to do centuries and quarter centuries and decades, right? So you did a quarter of a century of
Yeah,
your life in the military. And when we had that conversation when you set to retire and transition to veteran status, you know, I said, hey, what you gonna do? This is my, struggle and journey. This way, that's when you see your boy. I was double XL, right? Like, but you still showed me love and
yeah,
grace.
yeah.
And in chapter 6, you said a man who has no imagination has no wings, right? Because that's what when you was transitioned to veteran status, you was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I do know I want to help others in
Mm.
this transition phase. I know I want to help others like get to their goal, as if it be education, if it be self-confidence, if it be things. So I'm going to open up me a company. I'm going to start a company. And how you see how the past, or for everybody in the that's listening in, my brother, my mentor was so for our non-military people, he was the senior enlisted for the education for the United States Air Force.
Mm.
That was his last position.
Mhm.
So when you say a man who has no imagination has no wings, but that sets you up nice to what you're doing now. If you look back at it, so if you could share with us and share with others that's in that transition space, that's about to transition to their next part of their journey, what are some of the things that you say, you know what, I'm going to start my own company, but because you was building your Legos that you didn't even know. I don't know if you knew or whatever, but the journey you went through in that quarter of a century built you up to where you are now.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of transitioning at 4, 6, 10, 20, 30. Is you got to have an imagination that's solely yours. The imagination
Mm,
can't be stuck in uniform. Because if the imagination is stuck in uniform, what I see, and I do a lot of veteran transition coaching even today,
mm,
that there's no uniform no more, which means they clip your wings. So
mm.
your wings
Wow.
are assigned to a uniform. Your wings is internally covered up in that uniform. So you always got to be building your own. Like, yeah, I would tell you, did I see what I was doing exactly today? No, but I can tell you 15
Right.
years ago, I can tell you 21 years ago when I started teaching college that I wanted to do something in education.
Right.
When I
You
was a
ain't know what. You
when I
ain't know
was
what.
yeah, when I was a tech sergeant teaching, when I saw the advertisement for Central Texas College to be a criminal justice professor when I was a tech sergeant, I remember
Yes.
I remember my chief looking at me like I was crazy a little bit. Was like, okay, like,
Yes.
but most tech sergeants are not going to go try to be a college professor on base. But
Right.
my imagination was bigger than the uniform that I wore. And that's what I tell people. Don't never let anybody clip your wings. If you're a senior airman and you'd be like, hey, one day I want to run for
Mm,
Congress. And people look at you like, what? That senior airman ain't always going to be in the military. I
right.
mean, there's plenty of we have high level government officials now who were low ranking E5s and E6s, when they were in the service. And the vice president of the United States was an enlisted Marine,
Right.
served 6 years.
Yes.
Thing. So you just imagine if when the vice president was, a Marine corporal and he was like, one day I want to be a senator and I want to be running.
Right.
People probably would have been like, what?
What? Get out of here, man. Yeah.
But you fast forward 20 years, not even 20 years later, he's the vice president of the United States. So
Right.
I guarantee you, if you talk to him, that seed wasn't planted 6 years ago. That plant
Mm,
was already nurturing in these people. You might not know what it's going to grow to be, if it's going to be a big oak tree or going to be a small tree, but everything is nurturing within us. The problem is sometimes we allow that seed to not be watered. And that's where your wings get clipped. For me, I had no idea what it was going to do, but I kept doing things like you said. I kept teaching college.
right.
I remember I was teaching college for about 4 years, and the college came to me and said, hey, do you want to get certified to be a curriculum developer and to be able to write college curriculum? I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but definitely I'm going to.
Right.
So Yeah, you have to, I tell people you have to run 2 races and you can be excellent at both. I had
Mm,
jobs, I ran a skate park, I worked at a youth center, I taught college, I did all these things, but I was a damn good airman and I was a damn good NCO and I was a damn good
yes.
CEO. So I could do both at the same time. And I never allowed myself to be stovepiped. So when I took off that uniform, I'll end with this. I like to
Mhm.
visualize. When I took off that uniform, my wings extended. It was not,
Wow.
it was not contracted anymore. I can fly on my own.
Wow.
I wasn't tethered.
Wow. And that goes right into, you see how this flows into just bob and weave. You said like that Mike Tyson bobbing and weaving. And you said it is, you put in the book, it's hard to be the person who never gives up. Quitters don't win, persisters do.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all paid attention to what Todd just said. He was doing multiple things. But if you see Todd, like he's a professional when he was on um, whatever he was doing at that time, he was a professional at it. It's hard to be the person who never gives up. He could have gave up when he first came into the service. He could have gave up when he transitioned, and he said that the first couple of years his business wasn't profitable. His business was like, man, I think I'm gonna try something else.
Yeah.
It's hard to be the person who never gives up.
Man, I understand that quote different today than I understood it when I wrote it down in that
Yeah.
book.
Please share. Please share. That'd
Because
be
when I wrote
awesome.
that in that book, man, that was an idea when I wrote it in the
Mm,
like, it's hard because I looked at my military career through a scope of I worked my butt off and I just always did what I needed to do to make everything fit, you know. But, today
mm,
that comes in a lot of different areas. Friendships, you know, like, it comes in who you associate yourself with.
mm.
Going back a couple of questions ago, how do you, like give yourself like I know who I am today, but then undoubtedly I know who I am. And I know who I am doesn't fit everyone else. So
Right.
what I don't do is I don't put myself in situations where I'm going to have to tone my ambitions down or my brain down or my visions down. It's hard sometimes putting yourself in situations where you're the person that never wants to give up, but everybody around you is okay
Yes.
with treading water. And
Wow.
that's a hard thing to kind of come to realization with that what is more valuable, my peace, my purpose, my sanity, or being liked.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
And the time I'm gonna tell you something, because this was my struggle when we first met each other in person in real life
Yeah.
many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you put this in the book on purpose or if it was just like, man, I need to put it in. I call it, I told you before we start, I said, I'm going to call this the Lake and Heath chapter, right? Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Tough times never last, but tough people do. And our time there, when we were stationed overseas together, our unit went through
A lot.
a lot. When I mean a resilient unit, a lot.
Yeah.
And in the book, I remember when I read, I said, "Yeah, that's right," because I remember you had just put senior master sergeant on it, so that's E8. So basically, everybody that doesn't know military, it's E8, which is senior master sergeant, and then E9, which is chief master sergeant. So he had one more stripe to go, one more rank to go, but he had just put it on. But remember what you told me? Hey, nobody don't know. Once you have that stripe on, that's who you are. Like they don't care if you put it on an hour, 2 days, 3 days. Like that's who you are, and you had to get our unit through some tough times.
Yeah.
But you said like we was resilient, like and even before that, when because when did you get to Lake? I can't remember what year was it.
Oh man.
I know it's because I was there from a 7 to 11, right? And
Oh yeah,
two
I got there
thousand,
in 2009.
right? So you got there right after because I was in investigation, but we had an incident with weapons charge, and then in 2011, right before I was leaving, we had the incident in Frankfurt, CM
Yeah.
and Nicholas Alden. Um, It's no longer with us. And I blame myself for a long time because he wanted to be an investigator, right? Because I remember that conversation we had when you first got these. Like, look, if you want to do so, you can't just come on. You have to, get some dirt underneath your nails. So that's why I told him. I said, hey man, you have to get some dirt underneath your nails. I'll see you when you get back, right? And that tough times never last, but tough people do. That time span right there. What's some of the? It's hard to say. Like, what's something that you could share with us, like to get people through though, like when somebody's going through the tough times and like everything is just happening all at once, like how what's something you could recommend people do to kind of get through that? Because you have to be tough, you have to be tough
And
if you
I
can.
yeah, I gotta caveat that word tough. When I mean by tough, and I see that differently, like, tough time
Right.
lasts, but the toughness is the ability to, man, I'm gonna tell you, that's the second most toughest time of my career.
Yes.
I went through some very dark times in that squadron, and I viewed toughness back then as showing up every day for everyone else except myself. That's what I
Yes.
view. And it took me years to recover from that. I almost lost my family. I almost lost my I was in the second darkest moment of my life that point, but I would never show it. I probably was exhibiting it, but I would never
Mm.
talk to nobody about it. So when I say tough times, um, man, you have to, toughness is not about sucking it up. Toughness is about identifying how do you keep filling the tank up to keep being tough. What I
Getting
didn't
help.
do
Yeah.
is I took on everything and needed to be tough, but I was empty at the end of it. And I could physically not do anything else. And I'll share this with you. I didn't put it in the book. I got PCS early from Lake and Eve. I left 4 months early. I spent 2 years in that seat and a lot of things happened. And my
Yeah.
my wife came in and was gonna leave. I was severely depressed. I went to the I mean, I was hearing some of the most horrific things from, 18 people who were relieved of duty who have seen friends get killed, and we had multiple airmen who have taken someone else's life in combat. All of these things that I was emotional. My commander had a stroke at
Yeah.
commander's call. Like all of
Yeah.
these things, I had to keep that face.
Yeah.
I had to keep the face open, and I was empty. And by the time I was empty, it was my old squadron chief from years earlier when I was a tech sergeant, who was now the MAGCOM functional for USAFE, who came just on a routine visit the squadron because of everything we were going through. And he
Right.
took one look at me and he said, "You're not good." And I tried
Yeah.
to lie because I was trying to be tough. I'm tough.
He's seen it.
I'm a senior, man. I'm good. I got
Yeah.
it. And I was no good. And if it wasn't for that man saying he went back to Germany and he called back, he gave me grace to say, "Hey, we're going to send a chief down there early. And just because you've been doing that for 2 years, we're going to let you leave early. And we're going to," and so I didn't know at the time they were sending me to Colorado to put me on staff so I can get the help. So I went to Colorado and he handed me off to another chief. And if that, I tell people that's the greatest leadership I've ever received in my military career.
Yes.
Because if I kept being tough things, man, I'm telling you, I don't know what would have happened to me at Lake and Ether. I didn't have 5 more months of toughness in me. I didn't have
Right.
it. I don't even know how I had a day left. At that point where he saw me, I was done. But I was walking around
Wow.
and trying to keep all this together, trying to show up. I was working 14, 15 hours a day.
Yeah, I remember. I was an investigation. Yes, I
It'd be
remember.
9:30 at night.
Yo, see you gotta go home. You gotta get some rest. Like, I can't. They need me. I gotta make sure this is done.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember.
it was taking on a lot. We
Yes.
had leadership issues in the squadron. We had all kinds of issues. And so I spent a lot of time on that because I want the listeners and I want your veterans and active. I want any listener or any non-military person,
Uh-huh.
even you don't have to glorify that word tough. Tough is tough leaders go get help. Tough leaders
Yeah.
make sure that they can be there continuously for the things that they're trying to be tough for. Because at some
Right.
point you're going to be empty and you're going to be having a negative effect on the things that you're trying to do. And I was probably having a negative effect on that squadron at some point, and I didn't even know it until somebody pulled me down. So the way I view that today from writing that 6 years ago is tough. Tough times call for leaders who understand that they love themselves enough to know that I got to go do something to make sure
Yeah.
I can keep loving everybody else.
Yeah. And I had to learn what he said, learn that the hard way. You're there for everybody, but you forget to be there for yourself. And um you have that burnout. Like for me, I had that, I didn't I got tired of running, right? Remember, you used to see me and like I used to like, man, this dude running everywhere. Yeah, I got tired of running because I just didn't have that in me. But then the crescendo, the pinnacle of the book, the one to make people want to like to reach out to you more. And we're gonna end with this chapter, which is chapter 12, is the best revenge is massive success. So here we are, 2025. People are gonna see this at right before the last month, right before December comes around, like the closeout 2025. It's you like the best revenge is massive success. And this is what I've seen. That's why I say I thank you for coming on, because I've known you since that time moving forward, but I've seen you, even though that you was battling stuff on inside, like you had contention, you kept pushing forward.
Yeah.
You kept doing things, you kept being there for others, but you was there for yourself because you was like, hey, me and the missus, we going on a trip, we will be going for, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, the other time I knew like the mission came first, but now it's like, no, I gotta reset and refocus because this is, the best revenge is massive success, right? And this right here is success because you're still here with us. You're
Yeah.
sharing more with us now. Because
Yeah.
imagine if if you didn't seek that courage, that power to push through,
Mhm.
it'll be a different story right now.
I agree. I agree, and I appreciate that. So, and I want to definitely end with the word success. Man,
Yes.
success is not things, man. You know, I had to get this podcast in because we're about to head to Africa for 19 days, you know? And
Yes.
like my life is defined around waking up, giving myself gratitude, loving the fact that I'm still on earth and be able to stand and breathe to be able to give life, into this world. That's success. I don't view success as money. Someone asked me the other day about money. It's like, hey man, we should be chasing all this money. I say money is a tool. That's
Yes.
all money is. I say money is a tool. I say money is no different than a tool that I use to bam nails into my patio.
Yes.
It's just a tool. And I said that hammer is instrumental in getting my patio sturdy enough to sit out and have a scotch and a cigar. And I
Yes.
said money is instrumental to give the purposeful things in my life. Like my mom not having to work, like helping
Yes.
daughters buy homes or taking my wife on a vacation. It's a tool. That's all
Yes.
it is. It's not an obsession. I say I'm not obsessed with a hammer, and I'm not going to be obsessed with money. So life and success has to be defined by you, and it never can be things. And it life that way. Massive success to me. When I read that or hear that quote now, I'm very honest and truthful. It meant
Mhm.
something different 6 years ago. It meant revenge. How you said, "Oh, people said this about me, so I'm gonna screw you."
It's
And I talked
different. Yeah,
about
it's different now.
that earlier. I talked about that earlier. Of only doing things to calm the voices in your head. But I tell people the worst thing you can do is try to calm the voices of those people who don't matter. So
Right.
massive success today, I still believe in that quote, but man, it's about loving yourself. It's about being able to get up in the morning. Let me tell you something as simple as this. I used to be a headphone junkie working out. And I love walk. I live in a very, nature community, and I walk every morning. Every morning I walk. When I used to have headphones on, one day my headphones, let me tell you how life gives you so much lemons to make lemonade. One day I'm walking and I walk like 5, 6 miles. I'm grabbing my headphones. I didn't charge them. So I walk like literally 10 steps and the headphones go dead. And I'm like, oh my God, this walk is going to be awful now. I'm not going to be able to listen to music. So I take the headphones off and I still continue my walk. Best walk I ever had. I cannot use headphones right now when I walk.
Cause you missing the moment.
That I would walk in upset for the first 2 or 3 minutes, and then I started noticing the birds. I started noticing the sounds. My smell was different. My sensory was different. How I thought about myself was different because it was just me and this. I cannot put headphones on outside now. So when I tell people what success looks like, man, success is in the eye of the beholder. What I can tell you just as advice, if you want to be successful at anything, love yourself first. Because success and everything else will be different. You won't be chasing. If you're chasing happiness for yourself, whatever that looks like, because happiness for me is not money, it's not cars, it's not houses, it's not it's time. Everything in success for me is time based. Do I get 10 more minutes to hang out with my daughter do I get 10 more minutes to hang out with my wife? Do I get enough out? I watched it today. I watched, one of the things I was in a funk. I told you, right? I sat down, turned on a Netflix movie, and I chilled for an hour and 20 minutes. And, you gotta, like, I could have been doing other things, but in that moment, I needed to do something for me in the middle of the day. So success is having the gratitude and the freedom to love yourself. And I'll end with that.
Man, I appreciate it. So before we leave, how do people get in contact with you? How do they get a copy of your book, Why Not Me? How do they reach out to Courageous Leadership Alliance if they want to bring you over to have this conversation with their team? Because it's powerful.
Yeah. So
share, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm TODD Simmons on everything. So you go to LinkedIn, Todd Simmons. Pretty easy to look me up on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and the book's on Amazon. I'm happy to say the book is constantly selling really well on Amazon. We've done well with that book. I'm very fortunate. I just went to Kansas and spoke about this, last week, and signed 50 copies of that book. It was so awesome, and I was there for a couple hours, and so I appreciate the response. But I'm easy to, it's on Amazon. It's out on Barnes and Noble and all those different websites. Don't have it in the stores much anymore because we were depleting the online orders. So we have to inventory got to be where inventory is bought from, right? So people today order more online. So that's where I put it at. And yeah, you can get a hold of me, courageouslead.com. It's www.courageouslead.com is our website. We got, awesome people all over the country. And I'm honored to have a veteran-owned company where 95% of the people who work with us is veterans. And so I'm really happy to be happy, to be honest with you. So that's how you get a hold of me. Looking forward to connecting if you want to connect. And I give away a lot of free books too. And I actually, in my spare time, I did this little, and I give these away free. It's called Strength Within. I'm going to send you a couple of copies. It's literally a journal broken down of the questions we just went, and talks about a lot of those things where it gives you an opportunity to kind of
that's awesome.
So, I'm a big reflection. I don't like the journal blank pages because my brain don't work that way. I need to do something in there. So I design a lot of the stuff, I tell people I design a lot of things based on how I learn. And it just happened to be easier for everybody else to learn.
Man, I appreciate this, Todd, so much. You don't know how much this has helped me. I know it's going to help other veterans. And remember, to our veterans out there, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. Grab that VET S.O.S lifeline. We are here to help. And I want everybody to write this down. These 3 words. Write this down and reflect on it. Why not me? Mm-hmm. It's going to take a while to understand, but just write those 3 words down. And like Todd said, look at yourself in the mirror and repeat that word to yourself, those 3 words to yourself in the mirror. You have a lot of answers for yourself. Stop questioning yourself. Until next time, everybody, peace.